knows. There's smarter people than us who are sitting in these.
I'll be honest, I have no idea what you're getting at right now, but we don't need to get stuck here on IP.
Maybe they'll give him somebody to beat on his way out, but he's not going to beat Gunther.
You know, you say Goldberg's not going to beat Gunther. I remember specifically watching, what was that, Survivor Series, the one he came back against Brock Lesnar. And then 2 seconds later, it was the 3 count, and Goldberg had beaten Brock in 90 seconds or whatever it is. So just never say never.
Welcome to the Lariat Lounge, everybody. I'm your host, Everson Godfrey, co-host Andrew Skeens. Skeener, we had another great week of wrestling, man. Heading into King of the Ring. We got a ton of qualifying matches. We've got some interesting angles to talk about. At least I think that they're pretty interesting. And we've got some sad news to talk about too. I hate it when people get hurt. And I particularly hate it when people that I really like get hurt. So we'll get into all of that, I'm sure. How you been this week, brother?
Oh, pretty solid. Weather's starting to warm up here in Milwaukee, so always love that. Much prefer the warm over the cold anytime. So summer is finally starting to appear, and honestly felt like we got a breather of a week in terms of wrestling, but then I checked the calendar and we've got another PLE next Saturday, so not too much of a breather.
I mean, look, we got 2 weeks. First of all, let me just say, Milwaukee must be wild, because the fact that you guys are starting to get warm weather now in June, I mean, at least to me, it's obviously normalcy is relative, right? So for us, I'm in Virginia. In Virginia, for us, it's been hot since, maybe like early May, late March, right? It's been hot. And in this month, in June, we have had maybe 2 weeks now of like consecutive 80-degree weather.
Yeah, we finally hit 80 for, I think, the second time yesterday. And it was actually hot, humid yesterday, which, again, I would prefer, but we'll see. Just a little, I'm still adjusting. So haven't quite been here a full year, so I'm still adjusting to it being a little cooler for longer up here.
Where were you before Milwaukee?
So we came straight here we did 2 years in Cincinnati, but grew up my whole life in West Virginia, so not too far north of you, a little bit, but yeah, I'm used to it being a little warmer. I know West Virginia's been hot for a couple weeks, so
yeah, no, but you understand the weather over here, and as weather over here, we're already starting to gear up for freaking hurricane season, so that sucks. But aside from that, we're getting, sporadic rain. And this is not a weather report on the Lariat Lounge. This is just conversation. We're talking about stuff we deal with. And there are people who got to deal with a lot of things when they're, living life and going to work and having families and all that stuff. And you tune into the Lariat Lounge because it's a bit of a respite. It is a respite from the day-to-day that you deal with. And particularly after you watch a week of wrestling and you're trying to get a little respite from PLEs and WWE keeps beating you over the head with them, you need a good conversation. Kicking back at the lounge with a nice smoky drink, enjoying it with some friends. Skeener, if you do not have VIP passes into the Lariat Lounge, how can you get in touch with us and be a part of what we're doing?
Well, I figure everyone's here that they're here, so they know. But in case you stumbled in, you can get us anywhere you get your podcast, Spotify, iTunes, anywhere else. You can contact us, email us at thelariatlounge@gmail.com. We're also over on Instagram at the Lariat Lounge Podcast, and wanted to put up a little, not a poll, but a little open-ended question last week after the show went up. Asked our followers and listeners what was their favorite thing to come out of Money in the Bank, and I'll say our good buddy Angel Meza, who is one of the best guys out there. He responded and said that his favorite thing was the newest episode of the Lariat Lounge podcast.
What?
And we appreciate that, Angel.
Yeah, we do. Angel, good to hear from you, brother.
Very, very high praise. Hopefully a little tongue-in-cheek. Hopefully the wrestling was a little better than our podcast, but we appreciate all the listening, all the support everyone does. And hey, get involved over there. We're looking to hear from everyone. So anytime something like that on social goes up, or you hear something on the show that you want us to talk more about, anything like that, please reach out to us, because we want to make it a community. Everyone's welcome here in the lounge.
Agreed. You absolutely are. Yes. Now, Skeener, I feel like you told me before we went on that that you had something from someone who had something that they wanted to contribute to the program.
Okay. So we can jump in it now. Our good buddy Gage Johnson, shout out to Gage.
Sup, Gage?
Sent me something that he saw on I think it was a TikTok he sent me about an idea, and we've talked about making belts matter and making belts mean something.
Yeah.
And I think we can all agree that the women's tag titles are not the most juiced up of titles in terms of story and making them feel like they matter.
This
the idea that he was that kind of brought to my attention that someone else came up with was, what if we, and it was put in terms of the TikTok, we make one of those white strapped belts black and make them the mixed tag team title. I know WWE jumped into this a few years ago with the mixed match challenge. I think that was a favorite of a lot of hardcore internet wrestling fans. I certainly liked it. Didn't get a bunch of shine on the main shows, but they put that on YouTube, I think, is where they did it. And
yeah,
it was a lot of fun. So I'm going to turn it over to you. What would you think of the idea of, I mean, maybe one, turning, doing that with the women's tag titles, or introducing kind of a new set of belts for a mixed tag championship?
Well, okay. So first of all, thank you, Gage, for introducing this into the lounge. So I appreciate you offering this to us. And so I'm going to give you my honest opinion. I find mixed match, mixed gender wrestling fun. I find it very interesting to watch. It does bring a different dynamic to pro wrestling, particularly what it is that we generally see in WWE programming. I think the idea of adding maybe like a mixed match division, or maybe even like a mixed match championship to the equation could be interesting. The idea of maybe supplanting it with the women's tag team titles, I don't know if I would do that. Particularly because right now, I feel like the women's division, despite the fact that they have the women's tag team titles, despite the fact that they have new secondary titles, we're still struggling to figure out ways to utilize the women in programming. And if the reports are true that 2-hour Smackdowns are coming back, which I've been hearing that for a long time, you're going to have even less time for the women on Friday nights. I think that you could do something maybe sporadically where you had maybe some mixed match stuff. What I would love to see more than the women's tag team championships become a mixed match thing would be to just introduce intergender wrestling into programming, right? Like, even if you did that on occasion with some mixed matches in the intergender spectrum, just introduce it onto the table, right? I would love to see more intergender matches or mixed tag matches on the programming at all. So, maybe that's something that eventually WWE could work themselves into. I think that the first step would be to introduce it onto our programming at all. And let's see how the fans really respond to it. You could even use the mixed match challenge as maybe some sort of gauge or litmus that WWE can look at. For all we know, they could have already looked. Say what now?
Was that on purpose? Use it as a gauge?
No, but you know what? If it works, use it. Use it as a gauge, a barometer of sorts to get an idea of how the WWE universe responded to it. And because they did the mixed match challenge, what was that? That was online, correct?
Yeah, it's been obviously a few years ago now. I think it was mostly YouTube stuff.
Oh, well, see, and that's perfect, right? Because if it was on YouTube, then they can easily go look at the YouTube analytics and see how those mixed match challenges went over with the viewers, right? Did it get a lot of views? What was the retention time on these things? And it's easy because YouTube makes it very simple to understand not the algorithm, but the metrics of your video. And so they could easily go and look at it, and it's possible that they did. For all we know, WWE could have introduced Mixed Match Challenge as a way to test the waters, because that may have been something they were looking at. And the fact that we haven't seen it since might be an indicator that it didn't go over as well as they would have wanted to then invest time, segments on shows, money into developing something like that. But, you know, as fans, we like the things that we like. I tend to enjoy intergender mixed match challenges. And honestly, if I had to flip a coin between those two things, being specific, like mixed tag matches and intergender matches, what I really want to see, Skeeter, I want to see intergender matches. I was really hoping we were going to get Rhea Ripley versus Dom when they had their breakup. Like,
yeah, I'm surprised we actually didn't get that.
Me too.
To be honest, because they were leaning so heavy
into that. They really were. And, you know, it's one of those things where Dom and Rhea worked so well together in the Judgment Day. And you can tell if you watched anything on social media with them that they had real chemistry as friends. So you could make a match really work. And particularly because, like you stated, that story was laid out so clearly that it was just ripe for the picking. And the fact that WWE did not do that seems like it speaks volumes to what they're really trying to focus on, and specifically, in particular, what they're not trying to focus on. And that is intergender mixed matches. It doesn't seem like they're trying to do that.
No, definitely. I mean, I don't really ever see us getting too much intergender matches. I don't know about the, you know, maybe like a tournament or something. You know, I like you would struggle to think we take away the women's tag titles and replace them with a mixed tag title. But I will say, from what I remember, and you know, maybe it's rose-tinted nostalgia goggles for what we got, but I remember how fun that mixed match, or what they call it, mixed match challenge, I think was what they call it.
Yep.
And having these mixed tag teams, and it seemed like the performers were having fun. And what I would love if they did something like this is, just like we got back then, you get characters and, you know, these co-workers and performers that don't get to interact with each other on screen too much in these situations do that. And I'm always down with that. It just gives them another way to go. And, you know, hey, maybe you strike gold with a pairing and, you know, it really takes off. But otherwise, I think it's fun for fans to see, you know, because for the most part, you don't get to see the men's and women's, those characters interact too much if it's outside of a stable or romantic storyline dynamic, pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, and or manager client, that type of stuff. You don't get to see them as tag teams, as fellow wrestlers. And I think that's a different dynamic character-wise. And I remember we had some really fun stuff that happened with, you know, and they were having fun with it. You had, like, I remember Mandy Rose and Goldust. And that was fun.
Yeah.
And, like, and outside of that, like, those characters are never going to interact on screen that way. And Braun Strowman and Alexa Bliss, and I think Miz and Asuka were a team, and that was cool. But, like, I just think it's another vehicle to provide us entertainment in a way that doesn't get worn out.
Sure.
So I think if you introduce titles, you'd have the same issue you have with essentially the women's tag titles. Is, like you said, maybe there's not enough time to focus on this properly, but like maybe a once a year tournament, or do it, you know, I'd be fine with them doing like an online series like they did.
Yeah.
And hey, you want to film it at live events, you want to film it before the shows, after the shows, but let the performers have fun with it and explore different sides of their characters. And I do think it could be really entertaining for us
Oh
in the
yeah.
end. But again, thank you, Gage, for bringing that to our attention. Anyone else that wants to do stuff like that, please do reach out in the ways we said. And we're willing to talk about pretty much any sort of wrestling ideas you all want to bring up. So
agreed. Thank you, Gage, for that that question or that prompt that you brought up. It's always fun to think about these things, and that's honestly what we do here at the Lariat Lounge. And straight up, that prompt is part of the reason why I started this podcast. And so I greatly appreciate it because I love to just pontificate on these types of things. Just think about wrestling in the way that I enjoy, A, and B, to be able to talk about it in a space where oftentimes when you turn on pro wrestling content that surrounds the product, you just don't get a lot of this anymore. You don't really get a lot of people who are just talking about wrestling because they love wrestling and all the things that surround wrestling and just being fans of the product and how fans do. We ponder on ideas and we spitball ideas and we come up with ideas. And these are the things that I love. So the fact that this popped into your head and you thought to reach out to Skeener, reach out to the Lariat Lounge, dude, I appreciate it. So much respect, Gage. I appreciate you, brother. So with that being said, remember, you can also reach out to us at Gmail, the Lariat Lounge at gmail.com. The email is always open. Social is always open. Get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. But enough with the fluff. Let's get to the stuff. So Skeener, let me start. I have a list. And full disclosure, folks, I always have a list. Every time we do a show, I have a list. I put it together like it's an itinerary of things that I want to go through. And what ends up happening is we get to talking. I pick a couple things on this list. We start talking about it. And like 50% of the stuff I wrote on my list, we don't even get to. So
he's not lying. There's always a list. It just doesn't always play out that way.
And you know what? And that's fine. I think we hit the things we hit. We don't hit the things we don't hit. But one of the things I wanted to start with, particularly with Smackdown, I absolutely love mad genius evil villain John Cena. I know there are people out there who have feelings about John Cena and his heel turn. I get it. It's not for everyone. Fair. I absolutely love the fact that John Cena, even in the fact that he is WWE champion, even in the fact that despite the fact that he cheats to win, he's winning all the time, right? He still comes across as like the conniving heel who's making excuses for how he won. And like these machinations that he has that you don't even have to do or believe for him to be the heel that he is, right? But the fact that he goes on these rants, right, where he's talking about how he did not have to win the Royal Rumble because he knew he could throw his weight around, you know, and get into position to win the championship, and how he played Logan and how he played Cody and how he played, and he doesn't even need the final boss, and that he is just the dude to crush WWE in any way he sees fit, and there's nobody that can touch him. And he always comes out to the ring surly, and he's just disgusted that he has to be out here and explain this to you. And let me tell you something, and I'm going to cede the floor to you. When Cena went backstage, I believe this was after his first on-screen promo on Smackdown this week. And he, I think LA Knight came out there, and who else came out there? LA Knight.
It was Randy Orton. I think it was Cody first.
Yep. Then Orton.
Then Orton. Then LA Knight.
And then LA Knight. And then Cena leaves. He gets jumped by freaking Killer Truth. Right. Dude's on a freaking rampage. The wrath of our killings. And he goes backstage, and he's got his hat on backwards, right? And he's just incessantly barking at what's his name? The GM.
Nick Aldis.
And he's just barking at him. And I'm just looking at this dude with his backwards cap on, and it's giving me all the old school Cena vibes. And it's just making me wish and hope and pray that Cena just continues to be this deranged heel and lean so far into it that when he turns back to the good side, to the light, that we're going to absolutely miss his heel turn.
I'm really enjoying what we get. Again, like you said, I understand it's not for everyone, and there are certainly things we can nitpick about it and aren't, the best of the best that all of us can fantasy book. Everything, some great stuff we've fantasy booked hasn't come true on this show.
True.
But as what I like to say is, I'm an enjoyer of things to a fault. I'm enjoying what we got, and I thought his promo to open the show was really good, where he, like you said, comes out and condescendingly explains, after the fact, all his plan and how he's so smart and how, he's just steps ahead, moves ahead of everyone and has been at every turn. I like that. I really thought we got something. It was, again, as we talked about kind of with the top scene on Raw, I like that now with Cena, it feels like for the first time, it's not as self-contained.
Sure.
We're now opening up the options because, as Cody said, Cody just pinned him.
Right, he did.
Cody has his shot at Cena. We also have R-Truth / Ron Killings, which I'm sure we'll talk about. I'm not sure why we can't pick a name for him, or WWE can't decide whether this is R-Truth or Ron Killings now, but look, neither here nor there. Small detail. And then you also have, CM Punk, who I'm sure we'll get to, and they had an interaction later in the show. But for the first time, it feels like we're getting what WWE likes to do now, at least, in terms of, interweaving multiple characters and stories and, taking people in and out and on different roads back to the same people and same place. Now we're getting that in the Cena story, where it's not just John Cena versus X for this month, and then we're going to move on to John Cena's next thing. Now we've got Cody, Punk, Truth, Cena. Maybe other people are going to get involved, all coming together. And I like that, and I like that's how they set up. And really strong open to the show, I thought.
I agree. I think if I had to guess, I'm probably thinking, as far as the whole thing with like R-Truth and WWE not being able to figure out what they want to call this man. Ron Killings is his real name. I know John Cena is John Cena's real name, but John Cena has been working under that moniker of John Cena in WWE his entire career. I don't know at what point or how anything is broken up behind the scenes with regards to, obviously John Cena owns his own image and likeness, right? But
he's spoken about this. He has. It truly probably doesn't matter because I assume he will always be on such good terms with the company.
Sure,
it's going to be an issue. But I think in a wrestling sense, WWE owns John Cena. And again, I used to be an attorney full time. I still do some attorney work. That section of the law, intellectual property and stuff, is a whole different minefield that I never wanted to wade into. So yeah. I don't profess to be an expert, but I just know, I feel like he's talked about this before on something, and it sticks out in my head that they own like WWE owns a bit of John Cena.
It seems like they would own like the character of John Cena. It seems like they would own like the character of John Cena, right? And then of course John Cena is his own person. And yes, there's probably some sort of ownership by WWE of John Cena when he appears on WWE programming, right? And it's sort of I don't practice law at all, never did, right? But I do understand that when I believe the NCAA was running into the image and likeness issues with their athletes in college football, that it's one thing to own image and likeness. It's another thing to own their name, right? And the reason why for the longest time when you played like NCAA football games, you could have maybe like an image and likeness of a player, but for the longest time, NCAA games did not have player names on the jerseys, despite the fact that maybe the school did, right? And I think that was because EA did not own the names of these players, right? And as long as you kept the name off of it, you didn't have to fight so much with image and likeness issues. And plus, NCAA players also weren't able to, own their own image and likeness. And now that that's changed, there's obviously some legal stuff with the schools and branding and how they're used in different products. I say all that because I'm wondering how much WWE owns R-Truth versus Ron Killings, right?
I mean, I would say they're very in control of the R-Truth.
Absolutely.
IP. And absolutely. I doubt they have much of. Yeah, I mean, I know where you're going with this. It's just weird that they would have him, to me, cut that promo on the table on Raw. And then now I'm seeing graphics for R-Truth versus John Cena.
Well, and here's the thing. Now, do you remember when Roman Reigns was WWE champion before he was the tribal chief character, right? And he was WWE champion, but he had to leave because his leukemia?
Yeah.
His leukemia came back, right? We've seen wrestlers time and again break kayfabe and say their real names, right? And that was the first time we heard him refer to himself as Joe Anoa'i, right? And WWE does not own Joe Anoa'i, but they do own Roman Reigns. You wouldn't have seen him, cut that promo as Joe Anoa'i, leave for leukemia, and then come back as the tribal chief Joe Anoa'i. Like I don't think WWE would have allowed something like that to happen because they can't then brand, they can't then make money off of his likeness in that way or the way that they did, right? And to contractually get his real name like that, boy, you're going to have to pay him more than what he already gets paid. And he's already the second highest wrestler paid by WWE besides The Rock. So, that would be a whole different ball game. Plus, if it works anything the way that what is the term I'm thinking? Oh, like if it works anything by way of how music artists have ownership of their masters or don't have ownership of their masters, right? Of their creations, then WWE keeps any type of money or earnings that come from anything residual once somebody has left the company, right? They still own the ability to play matches and syndication after wrestlers have left, right? And it's like if you don't own that likeness, you could run into a whole lot of legal issues by playing matches with people in them that are no longer with the company and they don't own that likeness anymore. It's honestly one of the reasons why whenever you see promo cut stuff for Rollins and Reigns, that you don't see Mox in it.
I don't know. I think you don't see Mox Ambrose mostly because they don't want to promote someone that they don't have.
You know what? You're probably right about that too. You're probably right about that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you're probably right in that, they thought, oh, are we going to promote a Ron Killings and we don't own the IP in perpetuity for Ron Killings? But they released a shirt. They had him cut a promo. They had other people call him Ron Killings.
He's got a shirt that says Ron Killings on it?
Yeah, the one they released. Like right after he came back, they promoted it.
Wow. Okay, so now I don't know. Now I don't know.
I think they've got two. They've got one. Oh no. I'm looking right now. We've got 3 Ron Killings shirts up there. They've got Killings is the truth, Killing Spree, and then it says we want truth. Then there's another one that says we want truth on the front and Ron Killings on the back. I am rightfully confused here, I feel like. Okay.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I wonder if R-Truth is who WWE has ownership of is the name R-Truth, right? And maybe they're just allowing him to throw around Ron Killings as service to the story, right? but you still need to brand him in WWE programming, maybe? Because I know that merch probably works a little different, but I don't know. And see, here's the thing. So I own a few pieces of WWE merch as far as like clothing is concerned. And I've seen clothing online before. Like, for instance, Jey Uso's Yeet t-shirt doesn't just say Yeet on it. Like, I believe somewhere on that t-shirt, it says something with Jey Uso on it. It's probably really small on the back behind the collar. But I think that's because though WWE does now have the rights to use Yeet where they did not have that before, I think Jey Uso is still the product. You know what I'm saying? That they're pushing, and to put Yeet on a t-shirt without Jey Uso anywhere on it. You know what I'm saying? Like CM Punk's old t-shirts where he used to have like the lightning bolt and the flag. That was his symbol, right? But it definitely said CM Punk on the back of that t-shirt, small behind the collar. And I wonder if it's something like that where it's like R-Truth or Ron Killings is almost being used almost as like a brand symbol for him. And in that sense, you could throw it around any way you want to and have R-Truth still be the product that's being branded as Ron Killings. Who knows? There's smarter people than us who are sitting in these.
To be honest, I have no idea what you're getting at right now, but we don't need to get stuck here on IP. I don't feel like
it makes sense to somebody. It makes sense to somebody. Yeah. But listen, the wrath of Ron Killings, because that's what I'm calling him, the wrath of Ron Killings is real, right? And John Cena is catching that wrath.
It's still great. I'm excited to see how Ron Killings, again, I'm not always the biggest guy that's going to get stuck on bell to bell and what moves anyone does, but I'm excited to see how he works this match next Friday. Because we didn't get to it, but we know this match, John Cena versus Ron Killings, is happening next Friday.
Yep.
A night before Night of Champions. So yeah, I'm excited to see how he wrestles, how that character now goes about his business in the ring, because it's completely different from what we've seen for a long time with the R-Truth character.
Yeah.
He's assumedly a completely different person. So I'm excited to see. Not that we, back when I came back to wrestling after a couple year hiatus in 2011, the main feud on my TV on Monday Night Raw was R-Truth versus John Cena for the title at Capital Punishment 2011. That was
they did wrestle at Capital Punishment.
That was the first pay-per-view event I bought and my return to wrestling.
Yeah.
But so we've seen a serious side of him in the company, but it hasn't been for so long. And I'm excited to see what that looks like in the ring. How the in-ring serves the character here.
I agree.
That's kind of what I'm looking forward to.
I agree. And honestly, for me, this one is bigger, in my opinion. It has a bigger emphasis on the storytelling aspect and who wins, right? Because it's not for the title. And so, it doesn't really matter who wins. And honestly, because it's not for the title and because Cena's going to be defending that title at Night of Champions. King of the Ring, right? Night of Champions?
Night of Champions and King of the Ring. King and Queen of the Ring are there.
Oh, that's right. So at Night of Champions, he's going to be defending that championship against Punk. He could lose. He could lose against Ron. And honestly, it almost seems like the great part about this story is that you could get incredible storytelling beats out of this match with Ron Killings, regardless of who wins, right? You could have Cena win going strong into his match against Punk. Or you could have a situation where Ron Killings beats Cena in some way, shape, form, or fashion, right? And it adds a whole new wrinkle to this Cena who's been running roughshod over everyone, right? By hook or by crook, talking to people any kind of way he wants to, going at the fans any way he wants to. And like we alluded to a couple episodes ago, right? Cena's dates are ticking down. We're in the teens now. And you've got to start building or putting something in place that points to Cena and where his story is going to go next, besides him just wrestling match after match after match, right? And we've already had Punk as well as Truth actually alluding to the fact that you know what you're doing is wrong, right? Like, you know what you're doing is wrong. And when do we start, turning that corner?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting just because, again, we've joked about someone in the writers' room or at WWE listening, but I think on one of our first few episodes together, you alluded to John Cena in the Darth Vader Anakin Skywalker context, and then
And
Punk
he
said,
made that reference.
exact same reference. Yeah, I always kind of pop to myself when those moments happen, when something we talk about on the show kind of happened dead on the show. But yeah, they seem to really now be playing up this aspect that you've said, that you've brought up, that maybe is John Cena reluctant to be doing these things? Is he actually so set that what he's doing is the right thing? And I think it's interesting that Punk brings it up in the way he did, and that you can almost read it in this meta context that he's talking about John Cena doing these dastardly acts, but is he also, in the grand scheme of things, talking about how there are people dissatisfied with the heel run of John Cena, and why is he doing it this way, as Punk is always prone to do, to throw a little real life in there.
Sure.
I thought it was interesting that, and maybe it's a personal thing, maybe it's a story thing, that Punk avoided pushing back so much on the hypocrite notion that John Cena played up at first, that
right.
we talked about last week, that I was excited to see him get into, and I'm glad Cena brought it up. But it seemed like Punk didn't address that. And again, look, that's fine. You don't have to, you don't have to explain your personal stances when you're a character on TV. But I did think it was fun, or not fun, interesting that Cena brought it up, oh, you're a hypocrite for following me to Saudi Arabia, Punk. But Punk didn't push back that hard. But again, I still think it served its purpose. I loved Punk coming in and talking about, oh, you're just playing CM Punk's greatest hits. Like, you're
right.
You're the guy that's going to take this place down and leave with the title, while Punk's the guy fighting for the people. I think it's, even if it's a very short order, and even if they're not, some people might argue they're not breaking new ground, they're just hitting the high notes we know they're going to hit. I've still really enjoyed what's going on. I think it's two of the best doing what they do, doing what they're great at. And I think we'll get some fun stuff in the next couple weeks, because we've got at least one more Cena appearance, and probably Punk on both shows next week.
Yeah.
Playing this up. So a lot could develop. But it could,
man. And listen, I would love to see Cena. Not Cena. I would love to see Punk with regards to Punk not necessarily addressing the whole hypocrisy issue regarding him going to Saudi for Night of Champions. I would love to see this maybe eventually play into what we all should absolutely want from Punk in his run in WWE currently, which is another epic heel run. I think Punk is an incredible performer. I think he is an incredible character. I think he is someone that the fans truly love, and that's what makes him a natural face. But boy, I think he is better as a heel. I think when he can really lean into the things that make Punk haters hate him, I think he's gold. And he was, in my opinion, one of the absolute best heels that WWE has ever had, particularly in the last 20 years. Right. His run as with the Straight Edge Society. Oh, I love that Punk. Do you know what I'm saying? I loved that Punk. And I think a lot of that came from Punk being Punk. Right. And over the years, through the release from WWE, getting served those papers on his wedding day, and just his jaded on again, off again relationship with pro wrestling and the fans over the years, I feel like a lot of the things that we really loved and appreciated about Punk as a heel bled so far into real life that a lot of people started to dislike him and started to dislike certain aspects of him. And I can understand it. Punk is a jagged little pill to, quote Alanis Morissette. But I
didn't have the Alanis Morissette reference on my Lariat Lounge bingo card.
Hey, listen. Hey, look, strap up, cowboy, because I got a ton of them. But yeah, I think, it's not something that everyone particularly enjoyed. But I think, and this is just me reaching here, if you were a real Punk fan, like you really enjoyed Punk in his heyday in WWE, I think that all the things that as lay fans may not have liked so much about Punk outside of WWE and his run in AEW, those are all the things that made Punk Punk. If he didn't have those things, he wouldn't be who he is. And so, one of his big criticisms when he came back to WWE, because, everybody's got criticisms, is the fact that Punk seems to be on this glad-handing, happy to be here tour. And, yeah, maybe he adds a little bit of edge to it with I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to make money. Dude, we need to pay that off. You know what I'm saying? Like, no pun intended. We need to pay that off in the sense that maybe somewhere down the line, right, you get maybe a corporate Punk and get a corporate Punk who is all CM Punk. He's all company man. He's all here for that check, right? In a very opposite way that John Cena was the company guy. You know what I'm saying? Like Punk becomes the company guy and he embodies all of the things that people believe WWE as a company was back in the day, which was exploitative, which was only here for the money, right? Only here to do what they needed to do to make the extra buck, all under the veneer of, I love the business. That would be such a great angle for Punk, particularly because that's not, I don't want to say it's not who he is, because I don't know the man, but it's not who he portrayed himself to be in the early days, but it absolutely leans into what he's been alluding to the entire time he's been here. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money. What better way for somebody to make money than to be the person that everyone in the crowd wants him to be, right? Which is CM Punk. He's back. We love him. He's going to stand up and he's going to be the person who grabs the mic and has something snippy to say to somebody. And, he's always going to be the guy with the pipe bomb right in his back pocket. Yeah, we like that, Punk. That's what I'm giving you. In a way, he's not different than Cena. In a way, he's not different than who Cena is right now, which may be undercurrent why Cena calls him a hypocrite. Maybe some of it has to do with the Saudi stuff, or maybe you're hypocritical because you're calling me out. And look at you. Look at who you are right now. Here for the money, not for the friends. You're talking about the love of the business, but you're definitely about to follow me to Saudi for this check. I mean, there's layers.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. And again, I was, and we've got, like I said, a couple more shows. I hope they delve more into that, but maybe they won't. Maybe it's too touchy and we don't need to. Again, we don't need to distract. We don't need to make wrestling too real all the time.
I agree.
So we'll see where they go. I was intrigued that Cena quote unquote, went there and Punk didn't quite go there as much. But again, neither here nor there. And I enjoyed all the John Cena we got on this past SmackDown, and I'm looking forward to how it shakes out with him and Truth this Friday.
I agree. Now, I want to say something else, a couple other things about SmackDown, because SmackDown was loaded with some stuff. And I wanted to let me first say this, and then I want to get your opinion on something that we've been talking about for weeks now. So first I want to say this, okay? Naomi is wonderful. Naomi is great. And anybody who thinks that Naomi is not great, I just don't think they like Naomi. And that's my personal opinion, right? Did you see Naomi's Money in the Bank briefcase post that was on social media?
I don't think I did, but I can go check it out right
She
now.
posted a picture of what she keeps in that briefcase.
No, I definitely didn't see this.
Dude, it was a bunch of weapons. It was a bunch of weapons, like knives, brass knuckles.
I know she came out. I know she had the gear with all the razor blades on it this week, right?
Yeah, well, and that's her whole thing, right? It's like proceed with caution, and like the gloves are off with her now. And so, yeah, there's this post that she put up there of what she's got in that briefcase. And I swear there was like a knife in the briefcase. And I'm just like, I mean, come on, like we're going overboard. But it's so on brand with the character that she is portraying herself as right now. And I love it. It's like, dude, if you're going to have a gimmick in pro wrestling.
Okay, I'm seeing it now. Yeah.
You see it?
Yeah, she's got a switchblade. She's got caution tape. She's got some duct tape. Looks like a little taser, some razor blades, an action figure of her husband. Yeah, all sorts of things. That's great.
Dude, it's awesome. It's awesome. It's these little things, right? That make characters really stick with people. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I say people in a general sense, because even the people who don't see that post, who never saw it, they benefit from the people who did see it. Because the people who did see it are the people who are going to talk about it. The people who did see it are the people who are going to be at the shows and appreciate it. That's going to translate in crowd reaction, crowd applause, how WWE will respond to her and how they may handle her. And so the lay fan who never even pays attention to these types of things, right, are going to benefit secondhand from the effort that people put in like this. You see it with Naomi. You see it with how Killer Cross gets responded to whenever he shows up on the screen now, right? And it's like they still don't even put that man in matches. But it's like every time he shows up on the screen, the crowd goes nuts.
We do have a cross match coming. So
we do.
After I was excited to see that develop a little bit. That was on Raw, right? That was
on Raw.
That was this Monday. Yeah. Him and Sammy finally setting a date to do it in the ring. So but after King of the Ring, right?
Yeah, that's after King of the Ring. Yep. After he wins King of the Ring. So yeah. I'm wondering, so I have no idea at this point, and honestly, I haven't really been trying to speculate on my off time about who the winner of the King of the Ring is going to be, because there's been so many King of the Ring qualifiers, both for the men and the women, and I've just really been enjoying these 4-way matches, because you get people lumped together, like you alluded to earlier when we were talking about the mixed match challenge, and how the great part of that was that you got to see these pairings that you just didn't normally get to see, right? And you just get to see all of these pairings with some of these King of the Ring matches that you normally wouldn't see. Like, yeah, you may see Orton in a match with LA Knight at some point, but the fact that you got Orton, LA Knight, Carmelo Hayes, and Aleister Black in the same match, I mean, where were you going to see that? Like, obviously, it's a way to keep certain superstars from having to take pins. Sure, that's fine. But the matches that you get out of that, they're just awesome. And the fact that we have these for the men and the women, I think it was a great idea to have these opening round matches for King of the Ring be these fatal 4-ways. I think it just takes some of the stench off of how WWE used to handle King and Queen of the Ring, which was just weeks and weeks of one-on-one matches. And I remember one year, it might have been like a couple years ago, that, oh my gosh, it was such a chore to watch the King and Queen of the Ring stuff, because it was just week after week after week after week of these singles matches with some people that, for better or worse, because the product was what the product was, or the product is what it is, you just didn't always care about these matches. And the people that were in them, I think this just gives a real shot in the arm for that tournament to handle these matches in this way. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. I was, I guess when the first match came on, the first King of the Ring first round match, and it came on and it was a fatal 4-way. I'm like, what the heck's going on here?
Yeah.
And then when I realized like all these first rounds were going to be fatal 4-ways, I was like, oh, this is a really good idea.
Yep.
Because it switches it up. It, like you said, it's not as monotonous. You got bigger names in matches right away. You know, not to disparage anyone, but look, everyone is the magnitude of star that they are.
Right.
And like you said, it kind of may skip some of those. It saves time essentially. And you're right. And we get really good matches out of it because, these multi-man matches, while sometimes you can overdo them, when they're done right, you've just got so many more pieces to move around and characters to play with that they can be really, really good. And I think that's what we've gotten in pretty much every single King and Queen of the Ring first round match that we've seen thus far.
Yes.
Has been really good stuff. And on the men's side, and I'm sure we'll save final predictions until our King of the Ring, or not King of the Ring. See, now I'm doing Night of Champions little preview episode. But who we've got left? We've got Sami Zayn, Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, and Jey Uso. Like, man, that's some star power right now.
Yeah, it is. And it's hard for me. So we can do final predictions. Obviously, we'll do those at our go home episode of the Lariat Lounge for Night of Champions. But when you do look at that field, right? You said Orton, Cody, Jay, and who's the fourth one?
Orton, Cody, Jay. Oh my Lord! I just said it.
You did.
Orton. Oh right. No, you said Orton.
Yeah, Orton, Cody, Orton. Jay, and Sami. Okay. Sammy. So we're getting Cody and Jay. So that means we're getting Orton and Sami. You've laid stories out, and WWE, I'm not glad handing here. I'm just giving credit where credit's due. WWE has laid these stories out in a way that you can't pull from your normal rationale to try and determine who's going to win these matches, right? I think you could maybe you could do that with a little more certainty if you're playing the traditional roles with Jay versus Cody, right? Because you could lean to the idea that, okay, because the King of the Ring winner gets a guaranteed title shot, that obviously that puts Cody back in the championship contention, and that would put him at the position to challenge Cena for a rematch to get his title back. You could do that. And you could lean into the idea that a lot of people, not me, not you, and not a lot of the listeners, I would assume, thought that Jey Uso's world championship run was boo-boo, right? If there are people who think that, you could easily think, okay, well, Cody would be the one that would go over in that match, right? But then you look at Orton versus Zayn, and we have an idea that based on the interactions this week, that Randy is already teasing the future feud between himself and Cody, in that he learned from John that I'm going to do what it is that I need to do to get another championship run. And Cody, I love you like a brother, but if I've got to step on you to get there, I'm going to do it. Now, as I'm saying this, if I was going to make early predictions, Skeener, my guess would be Cena versus Sami. I think Sami goes over. I think Sami goes over Randy. I think Sami goes over Randy. Maybe it's clean. I doubt it, because maybe you get some interference in some kind of way. Maybe it's from Killer Cross, because I would love to see Sami turn heel at some point, right? And maybe you pair him with Killer Cross. But I think maybe, what if you got some interference from Killer Cross and it actually allows Sami to win, right? We've already alluded to this from Killer Cross, that you took the interference from LA Knight and qualified, right? You had Sami push back against it hard. Maybe you get interference from Killer Cross and Sami, despite what he says, takes the help again and he gets over Orton. This also puts Orton in this mindset of him losing another opportunity at the title. If Cody does eventually get the title back, you put Randy in a position where Randy feels desperate. He wants to win another championship, and he's willing to do what he said he was going to do to Cody, which was step on him to get there, that he learned from John, right? So you could have a world where Sammy goes over Orton. I think you have between Jay and Cody, that's tough because it's going to be an emotional match anyway because they're friends. How you play into this story, I'm not entirely sure. Like, I wish Jay had more going into this match, even though he was just the world champ. What do you play off of besides just the fact that they're friends now and it's friend versus friend for who goes to the finals? I'm not entirely sure.
I think, so we are getting the semifinal matches before the PLE, right?
You would think so, because I feel like we've already got the final four, right? So that would mean that going into this Friday on Smackdown, unless they do another match, they should do another match. It should be Orton versus Sammy. And then you have the Raw. Well, I don't know.
Okay, yeah. No, I just checked. Yeah. So it's Orton and Sammy next Friday.
Okay,
SmackDown.
next Friday. Got you. Okay. So Orton and Sammy next Friday.
We have Jay and Cody
on Monday.
On Raw.
Yep. Yeah, Jay and Cody on Raw.
So I would say, I mean, not to get too heavy into it, I don't think Randy Orton and Jey Uso are going to be in the final match. I just can't see that. I am excited to see how we get there. Yeah. I just don't see either of them winning this. I think there's better cases story-wise to have Cody or Sammy win. But just to speak back to Karrion Kross, I like the way that, and this may differ from other people. I like the way that Karrion Kross has been used, and even not used, is that there's this guy that had a groundswell of support that is very deserving, but we're going to take our time and build something and build a story that's right for him. We're not just going to, because people want to see him, we're not going to shove him into something rushed and maybe ruin all these other good plans that we have. Yeah. We're going to build something so that, we're not destroying other things for the sake of, building this new thing.
I agree.
And I like that. And, I get it. Some people don't like him just being on TV, but hey, he's on TV. He's building something. He's there every week doing something, playing into this character, building the lore, building the backstory. I think this has been the proper way to do it rather than just, there's a groundswell of support for Kross, let's just shove him in. He's going to win King of the Ring. And then you get to the point where we're like, oh shit, what do we do with this guy? We just, we did this just because we're hot shotting it essentially. And I like that they're not doing that. While it may frustrate some people, and I get that, I'm willing to wait to see the payoff, which we seem to finally, it's now in the works. We've got a date in the ring set with him and Sammy. That storyline's really starting to heat up, I think. And I'm just excited to see where it all goes. And I'm glad getting somewhere with Kross.
I agree. I honestly, I agree with everything you said there. Like, let this cook slowly. There's no need to rush it. And honestly, we don't have a whole lot of characters in WWE or professional wrestling, honestly, that I know of, that you don't need to have them wrestle a lot. Make their appearances in the ring impactful. You know what I'm saying? And Karrion Kross and the character that he's played can play very, very easily into this idea of, the term that keeps coming to my head is, I hesitate to use it, but boss. Not boss as in Sasha, not boss as in final boss. I mean, like, you and I have played video games before, and you and I also came from an era where, like, beat 'em up video games were a thing. And in those games, there were, levels that you beat, and you'd fight little bosses at the end. And there are some video games that you would play where it's like you get closer to the end of the game and it's not the final boss, but he's kind of like a sub boss where it's like you might have seen him a few times in other levels and he's always taunting you. And it's like you finally get to fight him. Maybe you beat him. He's pretty hard to beat, but even in beating him, it's symbolic of something else. And with Karrion Kross, I feel like he has all the potential to just be this character that's always looming. You know what I'm saying? And he's always stirring you up, stirring up the fans, stirring up the wrestlers on screen. And then you have this blow off that maybe doesn't necessarily always need to be on a PLE, right? But the matches are highly anticipated and allow Kross to get in these matches and run roughshod. And honestly, if there was any type of character that I would feel justified in 2025 giving the mantle of quote unquote larger than the ring, right? Larger than wrestling as far as the idea is concerned. Because I don't really want to get into the idea of like what the Fiend used to try to be to the ring or the Undertaker or anything like that. But like, I would love for Karrion to be this foil for Sammy that they set this date for. Whether Sammy wins King of the Ring or not, he goes after Karrion and Karrion beats him, right? Maybe it's a good match, but then have Karrion beat him and beat him. I don't know. Maybe it's snug. Maybe it's pretty sound. Or maybe he just loses and Sammy loses that last bit of confidence and then he gets broken by Killer Kross. You know what I'm saying? Like all the mind games, all the conversations, all those things that he said, and then you lose to him and he breaks you, right? And now you're buying in. You know what I'm saying? Ooh, I would love to see a stable with Killer Kross, Sami Zayn, AJ Styles, all these people who Karrion has been in their ear, you know what I'm saying? And then have them come to the same fate where it's like he's in their ear. They, AJ Styles is in a match for the Intercontinental Championship. Mm-hmm. Have him lose. I don't think it's time to take the Intercontinental Championship off of who's got it?
Dom.
Yeah, I don't think it's time for Dom to lose that, right? So have AJ lose it. Lose that match. Right? And then here's Karrion again. And then you have another blow off where AJ is like, yo, I'm sick of you. And then he has another match against Karrion and he loses to Karrion again. And then you just have Karrion start forming this stable, right? Where instead of giving us a basis for a stable where it's like you've got these guys who are in a stable with a leader that they just follow and they believe, but we never got to see the reason why they feel this way. We've gotten to see this with Karrion. We've got to see him rise himself to this place of prominence with the fans, right? With that work shoot promo he did right after Mania. And you get this groundswell support for the things that he's saying. He's a bad character, but stop him when he starts lying, right? And then the things that he's saying to your favorite superstars, they don't like it. They don't like him. But is he lying? No. And then it's like you break them and it's like, you know what? You're right. I'm not going to win being like this. I'm not going to win if I'm not that pit bull of an AJ Styles like I used to be. Or I'm not going to win if I continue to be the nice guy, Sami Zayn. You know what I'm saying? Like that would be a great stable. And Rollins stable, which they still don't have a name. You know, at some point, they're going to need another strong stable to go up against. And what better way than to pull some people that A, have had history with Rollins in AJ Styles, and B, who Rollins has recently interacted with in Sami Zayn.
That's a good idea. That I'm sorry to tell you is probably not going to happen, but great idea. But great idea. I am happy to see where we're seemingly taking the next step with Karrion Kross. But want to get your thoughts on, you talked about losing matches again and losing confidence. We didn't get it verbally, but I think we got a lot of character work.
I know where you're going.
An exchange of glances between Alexa Bliss and Charlotte. Charlotte loses her first round Queen of the Ring match by the skin of her teeth. She has Alba Fire in the figure eight, but she's not paying attention, and Alexa Bliss hits Candice LeRae, pins her seconds before Alba Fire taps out and Charlotte Flair would have won. And, you know, Alexa gives her this look like, hey, I told you so. Like, you don't have people always looking out for your back because you're, for lack of better terms, you've been a bitch to everyone. And now coming back to you. And that glance, and I think they're definitely building something between Alexa and Charlotte here, and I really like that. And you wonder if I could see it finally, quote unquote, formally becoming a feud here when we get this Asuka Alexa Bliss match. And I don't see Asuka losing that match, and I see Charlotte coming out and costing Alexa that match as the next step. But that's pontificating on something that may or may not happen. What's your thoughts on the interaction that we did get?
Well, all right. So first of all, I love what is going on with Charlotte and Alexa. This is a good thing, I think, to play into with Charlotte. And we've been talking about it for weeks now, which is let Charlotte keep losing. We need to build story around Charlotte that does not pertain to her being champion, because this is how you build character. You know what I'm saying? This is how you develop character, is when we can focus on something that does not deal with the title picture, with you being the champ, and dive into some other things, right? I know they had an interaction backstage where Charlotte kind of went off on Alexa, and then they go out here for this qualifying match and she's not paying attention. She's, you know what I mean? And Alexa gets the win, and now Alexa moves on, and she's going to be fighting against who in the
Asuka.
Okay, so we've got Asuka, Alexa, we've got Jade Cargill, and we've got Roxanne Perez.
Yep.
So it's tough because in order for me to kind of consider where things go with Charlotte and Alexa, I need to kind of better understand where Alexa's going. Now, do I think that at the end of the day, Alexa is going to be the queen of the ring? Normally, I would say no. But there are question marks here for me, right? One question mark is, what is WWE's emphasis on? Is the emphasis on just who they put in the main title picture scene? Or are we focused on greater storytelling with the golden ticket to the championship title scene? Because if you go with the latter, I could see Alexa Bliss winning that Queen of the Ring, right? Because Charlotte specifically said there can only be one queen.
Yeah, as you said it, and I heard you say Queen of the Ring, I'm like, yeah, imagining that promo where Alexa's telling Charlotte, I'm the queen. Don't you see this? Don't you see this tiara? I'm the queen, not you. And that could be fun, and that could again be something much needed for Charlotte in terms of adversity for the character not being, this character that's always been in control and been a focal point of everything when it comes to women's titles and the women's division for the most part. Now she's not. And she's far away from it. Let's see how that character responds to that. So yeah, I'm on board with that if it happens.
Yeah, like I could see that happening, right? Then I'm looking at the other side of that bracket, which is Jade versus Roxanne. As much as I like Jade, I feel like when it comes to Alexa Bliss versus Asuka, if you put Alexa Bliss over, I don't feel like a match with Alexa Bliss versus Jade Cargill is, I'm sorry. I just don't, nothing about that match screams appealing to me, aside from the storytelling aspect you could get from Alexa Bliss winning. I feel like Jade Cargill, I've always said about her, I think she's phenomenal. I think she is an attraction. So she is always going to draw eyes. I don't think she's ever going to be in a position where she's not going to draw attention, and the WWE is not going to place her squarely in, title contention or a title picture scene. With that being said, you do have mid-card titles, and she's new. She's never held a mid-card title before. I feel like she would be great in one of those mid-card title scenes right now and build her up into something else, right? For me, I would see Roxanne Perez going over Jade. So if you put Roxanne as one of the finalists, then when I'm looking at Alexa versus Asuka, I could see a more entertaining match between Alexa Bliss versus Roxanne Perez. But I, too, agree with you in the sense that I don't see Asuka losing. You know what I'm saying? In the semifinals.
Yeah. I don't see her losing without a good reason to really lose.
Right.
They just brought her back for this.
Yes. And so it makes sense based on the same logic that I just gave to Jade and seeing the rocket that they've been strapping to Roxanne, that because she's got that rocket strapped to her, because she's still got her stuff going on with the Judgment Day, and you're dealing with the whole story where they seem to be ramping up a bit right now with the Judgment Day's implosion, which they always seem to be doing, but they're doing it again, right? With Roxanne involved heavily. She does not have to win Queen of the Ring for her relevancy to remain. Who needs it more? I think Asuka can use it a whole lot more. And so if we were picking today, I could see Charlotte interfering, like you stated, and costing Alexa the match, right? And so Asuka goes over Alexa, and then you have the finals maybe being Alexa versus Roxanne, and Asuka beating Roxanne for Queen of the Ring. You know what I mean? And it's like, even if Roxanne loses, she still got the... Yeah. And it's like, even if Roxanne loses, she still has the fact that she was the runner-up at the Royal Rumble, right? And she was the runner-up in Queen of the Ring. You know what I'm saying? She was in the Elimination Chamber match as well. And it's like, of course, she's the prodigy. She's going to excel at this level in her first year. So it works out for everyone. And so when it comes back to Charlotte and Alexa, I have no idea where that feud could go, but I love the fact that they are putting these two together, allowing Alexa to shine more. This definitely gives Charlotte some room to grow, honestly. And based on the things that we've said before in previous episodes, and the fact that we had the special episode about Charlotte, I think Charlotte would benefit more from losing her feud against Alexa.
It's hard for me to say either way because we really haven't even started it yet. So no. I'll wait to I just think it's much needed to see Charlotte in a feud more focused on her, I guess, what we can call on her failing in a sense than on her succeeding so much. Because again, that's the way we've talked about with, the Lyra Valkyria character needing that. I think the Charlotte character has also greatly needed that, and it seems like we're finally getting there.
Yeah.
So I'm, anytime we allude to that, and of course, any Charlotte stuff is good for me. I still unabashedly love Charlotte, and I think I love Alexa too. So just really happy that they planted those seeds, and now we're seeing the seeds actually grow. So I'm way on board with this.
I don't disagree. So jumping over to Raw, let me start with this. I'm going to say this, and I mean this not in a disrespectful way, but I have to point out something that was the first thing I thought of when I watched this match. The match between Liv Morgan and Kairi Sane. Skeener, you know how much I love Liv Morgan. It hurt my soul to see her get hurt. I could not help but think about the fact that in less than 2 months, Kairi Sane has put 2 wrestlers on the shelf. One of them is never going to wrestle again. Did you see that online?
No.
So
are we talking about Zoe?
Yeah. So Zoe did like I wanted maybe like an Instagram reel or something on TikTok or something like that. It was a YouTube short where I saw it.
So let me say, I Google Zoe Stark and top story. Zoe Stark addresses AI generated retirement video.
Wait, hold on.
WWE's Zoe Stark praises AI video, but shoots down retirement rumors. You gotta be careful out there.
I wonder if we're talking about the same video.
I don't know. All I know is there apparently seems to be some AI video created where it's AI Zoe Stark announcing her retirement. And now, because I see a tweet from Zoe Stark here saying AI is crazy. And then her talking about how she is not retiring.
So now, does that what you're reading about that video, because first of all, AI is freaking nuts. That's crazy. If we're talking about the same video. Now in what you're reading, did it say anything regarding Zoe Stark making comments about Kairi Sane?
No, I'm just looking at her tweet, and she is in the car on an iPad watching a video, the AI video of her looking at a camera saying, MRI confirmed I tore my ACL, my knees are officially made of glass, and unfortunately I will have to retire from wrestling as a whole.
Okay. So I feel like I saw that video.
Yeah.
The one that I was talking about was she made a comment about Kairi Sane and not being in place where she should have been for the drop kick. And that's how her injury happened. So something about
maybe that was a couple weeks ago. She said like something close to it, but I don't know. I mean, my stance on the Kairi hurting people is, I mean, shit happens. Sometimes you get a bad run of things. I mean, Seth Rollins had Finn Balor and Sting getting hurt there close together. I just think, unless there's unknown history I don't know of, that, it just sucks. It happens.
No, it does. And listen, all I'm saying, and I'm not trying to speculate things. I'm just telling you the first thing that came across my mind, right? There was a match that Kairi was in recently where, you know what? It might have been the match that Zoe got hurt. Because when Zoe got hurt, that match continued. Because Rhea Ripley was in it, Kairi, and who else was in that match? I can't even remember. But there was a spot where Kairi was supposed to come off the top rope. And when it seemed like it was very obviously the spot where she was supposed to come off the top rope, Kairi was just not ready. And it's not that she wasn't in position. She just did not come off the rope when she was supposed to. And it just looked extremely awkward. Not the landing, not anything like that, or the execution of the move. It just looked like it was very ill-timed because Kairi was just not where she was supposed to be. There was another match I watched where Kairi, I don't believe she's the type of person who like sandbags at all, but it seemed like what she was supposed to be doing with somebody in the ring, I think it was another small wrestler, right? She just was not where she was supposed to be or doing what she was supposed to do to make the move look the way it was supposed to look. And the move just came across appearing very clunky, right? Zoe Stark gets injured. Then we see Liv doing this move with Kairi, which seems to be a very simple maneuver. And now Liv is on the shelf. I get what you're saying, and I'm not trying to say that Kairi is unsafe. It just sucks that Kairi seems to be in these places where it seems like moves aren't going off effectively, that people are getting injured. Maybe it's just wrong place, wrong time. But it's hard for me in that moment to look at that the way I did. And the first thing that came out of my mouth was, again, somebody else is hurt.
The Liv injury seemed like such a freak thing. I mean, it's very unfortunate. Like,
true.
Just it seemed like I don't know if she wasn't expecting that kind of move, but like I don't know. Obviously, something went wrong because you wouldn't think you would be coming down on your. Not that I have the slightest bit of time in a ring or taking a bump or anything like that, but you would think anything like that, you don't want to be coming down, sticking your arms out to brace your fall, because that's just asking for some trouble there. So who knows what happened.
Well, or bracing yourself for the fall the way she did, right? Because they take front body bumps all the time, right? And I do think that your hands serve the purpose of breaking your fall to a certain extent. But if you look at where the positioning of Liv's elbows, right? They're directly under her shoulders. And when you come down like that, you're just going to force all of that energy when you hit that mat up through your elbow, straight up through your shoulder. It was just not the way that you're supposed to take a front body bump like that, right? And part of me thinks because these wrestlers, and I'm trying to caveat again, I'm not really trying to rag on Kairi. I don't know if she did anything wrong. I'm just saying for as often as these wrestlers take front body bumps, right? Either A, Liv just took that all wrong, where she just landed on that wrong and it happens, or, something else. I just know that it blew my mind when I saw it, Skeener, that again, someone else within the span of freaking 60 days is hurt dealing with Kairi Sane. And it's hard because Zoe did not, that sucked. That was a sucky injury she took. Right. And I don't know if that video was AI generated, the one I saw. If it is, like dude, oh, listen, we can have a whole nother episode about AI that ain't got nothing to do with wrestling. Or maybe that's just an off-air conversation we have. But I have thoughts and very distinctly bad things to say. But
about what? About Kairi Sane or about
AI? About AI. That's not a Lariat Lounge conversation. That's a Everson Skeens conversation. But anyway, just to move past that, my prayers are with Liv that she has a speedy recovery and that, the shoulder injury is not the maximum amount of time required, even though if it is, it puts her right in line for a Royal Rumble return. But she just had a lot going for her right now with, the stuff with Nikki Bella, a potential tag match against the Bellas at Evolution. The fact she's going to miss that.
Whatever she was doing with Nikki Bella was going to be cool, and it sucks that she's going to miss that. It's to the silver lining on this very black cloud. You got to think when she comes back, it's going to be to a huge reaction,
thunderous.
So so we've already got that. You never wish for anyone to get hurt, but if we're already in the situation, I think it's almost going to be, I don't want to say better because we don't know what they had planned, but the story they can tell now, where now, she can not just be away for a month or whatever she was filming a movie. Now she's away for so long. And how does Roxanne entrench herself into the Judgment Day? Does she steal Dom away? How do we do that? I think this is a curveball where they can really make the lemons into a lemonade story-wise.
Oh, for
sure.
And
then when Liv comes back, we get to see a whole new side of her.
Oh, for sure.
That's my take on it. That's what I'm immediately thinking of. And I wonder how it shifts things around that they did have planned. Like does the plan for Roxanne now change? Does the plan for Raquel change a little bit, and therefore Rhea change a little bit? It'd be interesting to peek behind the curtain and find that out. We probably never will, but I think, like I said, again, I'll reuse again, they can make some really good lemonade out of these really sour lemons that they got dealt.
Oh, I agree. And look, the story could write itself with the Judgment Day, right? You could definitely have a situation where, like WWE does, you got an injury like this. They could play up how long she's going to be out, right? Give her time to recover and then time to tell a story, right? And what you could have is they're going to force Raquel to vacate the tag team championships. And then you have Roxanne be like, no, I'll step in. Freebird rule. And she steps in. Of course, Finn Balor is going to be like, this is the perfect thing to do. Keep the belts in the Judgment Day. You should do it, right? And then you replay this story. You replay the story essentially that you had with Rhea in the Judgment Day.
Yep. That's what I was thinking.
And then it's like when Alexa comes back, whatever you do with Dom, not Alexa, but when Liv comes back, right? Whatever you do with Dom, Liv's going to come back, like you said, to a thunderous, applause. And whatever you do with her and Raquel, you seem to have already been teasing a bit of tension between them after Raquel lost in her qualifying match, right? For Queen of the Ring. And so you're already teasing this, even if it's a situation where Raquel does not completely turn on Liv. It's a situation like Bianca and Naomi. When Jade got hurt, she fills in, and it's like when Liv comes back, it's like, what, I go on the shelf and you just move on without me, and it's just and listen, the story writes itself. So best wishes, prayers go out to Liv Morgan. Get well soon. I think the story is going to be great for you when you come back. Judgment Day is going to be set. I would love to see what happens with that, because Judgment Day, in my opinion, is still one of the best parts of Raw, hands down.
Yeah, so, it's always a part of everything. And like you alluded to, like the little bits we got with Raquel, and everyone's going about their business. And she's kind of like, hey guys, I'm here like hurt, laying on this couch, iced up, and we're just moving plans. Nobody cares about Raquel. And just there's always those little breadcrumbs that are placed with the Judgment Day, and why we love it so much every week.
So 2 more things I want to touch on with Raw before we wrap for today. And we're going a little over the hour and a half point. We're in overtime, people. So if you're loving the overtime content,
everyone is shocked.
Yeah, listen.
I said everyone is completely shocked.
Oh yeah, their minds are blown. Their minds are blown. But listen, if you love this overtime content, check us out on socials. Hit us up wherever you are. Let us know you love this longer stuff, right? So I want to touch on this. I think we called Goldberg.
You did, yeah. You did a bit ago. I mean, it came out on the quote-unquote dirt sheets before, so I saw that. But, I mean, we set it up. They set it up a bit ago last time they were in Atlanta.
They did.
Gunther didn't interact with Goldberg for no reason.
Well, and that's what we said before, right? Is that's gonna come back. That's gonna come back. And that was one of the reasons why we were thinking, Jay's probably going to drop that title to Gunther at some point. Obviously, I don't think Goldberg is getting a title run, but and I've heard this is a farewell run for him too. I think he's gonna do a few more matches, and then I think he's gonna be retiring too. But yeah, no, it'll be a nice little stop on the farewell tour for Goldberg. Maybe they'll give him somebody to beat on his way out, but he's not going to beat Gunther.
You say Goldberg's not going to beat Gunther. I remember specifically watching, what was that, Survivor Series, the one he came back against Brock Lesnar. And
don't.
My wife, my not at the time, wife was watching it with me, and she had never seen Goldberg yet, and Goldberg hits that spear, hits that jackhammer, and I looked at her and told her Brock's going to kick out, and that's the last offense Goldberg's going to get. And then 2 seconds later, it was the 3 count, and Goldberg had beaten Brock in 90 seconds or whatever it is, so just never say never.
Okay, you know what? I said no earlier, and I still say no, but you pulled this out of me. How many years ago was that? Do you remember?
In my head, I want to say Survivor Series 2016, but that may be wrong. It was 2016.
Okay, so that was almost a decade ago. Mm-hmm. So this was still in the Vince McMahon WWE era. I'm going to say this. For me, the bar was lower. I think the bar has been raised since Triple H took over the helm of creative. And so for me, honestly, I'm going to equate a quick Goldberg victory right now to a cheap pop. Like going into Milwaukee, Wisconsin and saying, how we feeling, Milwaukee? Like, okay, sure. Cheap pop. Like, I'm fine. But I would much rather have WWE with the direction that they have now, not just serve me the greatest hits. Let's give Goldberg a real, like, what are you going to do? Have him beat Gunther in 90 seconds, win the title, and then his final match, he loses it. Like, yeah, you could go the old-fashioned way, put someone over, but...
I don't think so, but I was just doing a little something to buy you some time.
Listen, I'll say this about that. It would be a shocker.
Hey, pal, anything can happen in the World Wrestling Federation.
This is very true. Anything could happen. The last thing I want to touch on. How much I miss Corey Graves.
Yeah. It was nice to get him back. Always been a big Graves guy.
Me too. Always. And I have nothing bad to say about Pat McAfee. I like Pat. Some people don't. I don't mind Pat. He's certainly a different flavor. He's not your traditional color commentary guy. But even when we have what's his name? Wade Barrett, right? I love Wade. Wade is great as the color commentary guy. But man, look, Corey, in my opinion, is on another level. And I think that it was a travesty to take him off of Raw when they went to Netflix. I thought that was just not the best move. And I think WWE did it because Pat McAfee is a big name and it draws eyes. And I think that's fine. But Pat takes these sabbaticals where he goes and does, college football and all these things. And I think that's fine. But boy, let me tell you, I miss Corey. When Corey was out there during the match with JD McDonough and AJ Styles. Listen, I have not laughed out loud, ran downstairs, and told my wife about something in a very long time. When he commented about JD McDonough and said this man is in the best shape of his life and he can't help it that he was born with a Minecraft head. Bro, I lost it. I said, hey, listen, I know two things. I know something right off the bat. I know that JD McDonough is very comfortable with himself. He's probably the guy who's like, hey, listen, I know my head is oddly shaped and is large. I've had it my whole life. It doesn't bother me anymore. Make fun of it. It's all content. We love it. You got to have that mentality, because if somebody says a joke that hits so hard like that, them's fighting words, sir. Like, we're going to have words behind the curtain after the show goes off. It's like, hey, you ain't have to say that. That's cold. But JD must be a cool dude, because Corey comes with it. He comes with those quips, and he's fast with it, and he's topical, and it always lands really well. And anybody who is new to wrestling and came in after Corey Graves was no longer on Raw, and this was your first time seeing him with Michael Cole, you're welcome, because that's a gift for you. What do you think?
I've always loved Corey Graves, and like you said, unlike some, I really like Pat too. I think occasionally, switching the voices up actually is good, in my opinion. It just kind of gives everything a new plate. Announcers have their spots in there, as much as I hate the word, their move set too. And it's nice to see someone else's from time to time. Not any disrespect to any of the people we have, who I think all of the guys that are doing it on the main roster right now are great, including, I don't think we've ever talked about it, I think Joe Tessitore has been a great addition. Because
Joe's excellent.
WWE loves pulling people in from the traditional sports world. I think he's come in and done a great job.
Yeah, Joe's incredible.
But yeah, I really like Corey Graves. It was nice to see him back. I was shocked when I heard his voice at first, and then I was like, okay, nice. I'm going to enjoy this treat for however long it lasts. There's much ado and much has been said about what has or hasn't happened and why he is or isn't announcing on the shows he is or isn't on. Whatever. I don't read too much into that. I like that he's back, because I've always liked him. And it's, again, a nice change of pace. And I think continuing to kind of change it up every once in a while is a good formula moving forward. Because, look, does that probably never gives you a chance to build another JR and King, but I don't think you're going to. I just don't think you're going to, And so let's just run with what we've got. We've got a bunch of really talented people. Let's cycle through. Let's let them talk about different characters every week for a little bit, then come back in a couple months, talk about the guys and girls on the other show. I'm with you. Love Corey, and I love that seemingly now we get a little rotation every once in a while.
I agree. I was definitely shocked to hear Corey's voice as well. As soon as I heard Michael say that Pat was not on the show, I was assuming we were going to have Wade. I thought I was going to hear Wade's voice again. And then when I heard Corey, I was very happy. So yeah, I'm a big Corey Graves fan as well. And I do agree that switching it up is nice. And I was thinking, if there never is another, JR and King, I don't think it will be because you don't have the right roster of people that you can put behind that desk. I think it has so much more to do with just the times that we live in, the era of professional wrestling that we're in. And, it was much more of a solidified spot behind that desk once Vince left the commentary table back in the day. Mm-hmm. And it did not shuffle much. You just had people in their spots, and that's where they stayed. And, the fact that nowadays you have so many more brands underneath the WWE umbrella, you just have a lot of great talent that is there, because on any given day, Cole has probably missed a handful of dates over his career. I mean, he's really an Iron Man with this thing. And, you know, if he were to retire, which he will one day, I have no idea how old Joe Tessitore is, but I know he's no spring chicken. But I could see a world where Joe Tess is the main commentator and he's got a decent selection of people who you could put next to him, right? And they could run the show. And, you know, just in that respect, WWE is in a good spot. You know who else is in a good spot? The listeners to this podcast. The listeners to this podcast are in a good spot because Skeener and I are in a good spot because we enjoy doing what it is that we're doing. I was having a conversation with my wife the other day, and I was just telling her about some of my thoughts for the future of the podcast and, you know, just fleeting things that float through my head. And I was just telling her about the great job I think you're doing with social media. And she just said to me, I really hope that this podcast really takes off for you guys. And I said, that would be great. And I told her, I said, right now, I think we're averaging maybe between 8 to 10 unique downloads per episode. And I said, that's cool. I am really just enjoying getting on a podcast to talk about something that I love, which is professional wrestling. B, being able to do it with my friend. And C, being able to put it out here for other people to enjoy in the way that works best for them. That's what the Lariat Lounge was founded on. That's what it's all about. And I am appreciative greatly to all the listeners who are helping Skeener and I grow this product into what it is for each and every one of you each and every week. Skeener, can you please let our gracious fans know one more time where they can reach us each week to let us know what they're liking, what they're not liking, if they got special topics that they want us to talk about, or where they can interact with this podcast if we've got special things that are up for them to put their fingers into.
Again, guys, we're coming at you every week, at least once a week, anywhere you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, we're everywhere. You can interact with us on social media at the Lariat Lounge Podcast on Instagram. Always feel free to DM, comment on the stories, anything. Also, shoot us an email at thelariatlounge@gmail.com. Anything you all bring up, as long as it's not, doesn't have to be PG, but as long as it's, you know, palatable, we'll talk about it on the show. We love hearing everyone's thoughts. Just keep it clean.
And that's what we do here, man. We interact with you guys. We want to foster a space where everyone feels like they can come in, that they're welcome, that they can lend their voice to the conversation, because that's all we're doing here at the Lariat Lounge. We're sipping on metaphorical drinks and we're having real conversations, because this is what we do. Smart takes, hard hits, real talk. From your host, Everson Godfrey, from my co-host, Andrew Skeens, this has been the Lariat Lounge. Please watch yourself on the way out.